Hey, what's up guys? Little man with a big opinion here. Let's get a mouthful of coffee. And before I start talking about stuff, you should subscribe to the channel if you like this content. Like the video if you specifically like the discussion from this video. Dislike it if you don't like it. And more importantly, share this with your friends and family. This is the research I did for this video. If you don't understand my chicken scratch and why I have numbers all over the place, then that's what I'm going to discuss in this video. I have done all of the math for you for having a 14-day or 2-week supply of food that is, the bare bones emergency for survival. There's nothing special about this. It's 21,000 calories, 1,500 calories a day. I just simply divided 7,000 of the calories for oats, 7,000 for rice, and 7,000 for beans. And I came up with this 2 weeks because I think it is a very obtainable point for most of us. I want to taste my Dr. Pepper because they're saying people are getting flat sodas in the vending machines. And it does taste a little flat. And they're saying some of these are expired. Oh, and that's funny. Where the expiration date goes on it, it's like, it almost looks like it's been purposely scratched out. That's neither here nor there. FEMA recommends 72 hours worth of food and water per person. They came up with that number because that's how long the government has given themselves after a natural disaster or something before the National Guard, can set up shop, hand out MREs, before food banks can reopen their doors, before we can get some semblance of, function back into an area. I'm kind of making this video because a lot of the Northeast got anywhere from 5 to 2 foot of snow. And some of these areas, that's going to be there for more than 72 hours. Just a month ago for us, the school was closed for a week. The roads weren't really drivable for 72 hours, more like 96 hours. And, we burned a lot of wood, cooked a lot of food at home, and basically sat around and waited for things to be able to open back up. We had snow on the ground, snow/ice, for about 10 days. And so I don't think the National Guard came in for us, but we missed a couple of days of 18-wheelers showing up to Walmart. And so we missed more than a couple of days because after, school was in session, we went and did some grocery shopping, and some of the regular stuff wasn't even back yet. And I think it's because Walmart was prioritizing more staple stuff and not the, random chips and soda and things like that. But 72 hours, I think 99% of us could achieve that number in, an extra $15, $20 of shopping. With these 3 things, you can accomplish this for also a relatively cheap amount. So, number wise, 1,500 calories a day it's below maintenance for a lot of people. 1,500 calories is going to keep you from starving. Um, you would increase this by 33% more to 28,000 calories to be hitting 2,000, which might be closer to maintenance for some people. These numbers don't take into consideration any type of work that you have to do. So if you are a physically active person, you're probably eating more calories. Although, depending on the natural disaster, you're not going to the gym 5 days that week. But, you know, any sort of manual labor that you need to get done, whether it's chopping wood, taking care of animals. I really think a lot about this, talking about building a log cabin this summer. My maintenance calories are about 1,800. That's just to say the same weight, nothing changes. When I walk and work out, I'm burning another 300 to 400 calories in a day. When I went camping this past weekend and I was cutting down trees and getting wood for fires and stuff, it went up another 250. And it wasn't really like backbreaking work. So this number could increase to 3,000 calories a day. Some people might even go even higher. It's just really, I can't be super accurate because every single one of us consume a different amount of calories. But if we're sticking to the 1,500 calories, 7,000 calories of oats is 1.5 containers of that really big, tall canister. It's got 2 pounds, 10 ounces in it. And they're slightly under $4 a piece. So yes, you'll need to buy 2. Now you're over the calories that you need there. But you're spending about $8. You need about 3 pounds, 15 ounces to have the 7,000 calories of oats. For the rice, it is about the same poundage. You're going to want slightly over 4 pounds of rice. Rice is dirt cheap. You're going to spend less than $5 on the rice. My recommendation is you get the 20-pound bag or even a 50-pound bag from like Sam's, Costco, those kind of places. But if you had to piece this out, 1 pound at a time, you're going to spend about $4.50 on the rice. And then the beans is the most weight. That's 5.5 pounds. And again, you're spending $1 on a pound of beans. You're spending like $27 for a 50-pound bag. Beans is where you're going to get your protein. Rice is where you're going to get a lot of your carbs. The oats are, about 2/3 carbs, 1/3 protein. But it provides a little bit of variety. Another thing to keep in mind for this, the oats, you're going to use about 3 gallons to prepare. The rice, you're going to use about 2 gallons. And the beans, you're going to use about 3 gallons. So you're going to need 8 gallons of water to prepare this food. On top of about 14 gallons of consumption, a little bit for hygiene. So you're looking at 22 gallons of water. The simplest way to figure that out is you're going to want 4 of those 5-gallon water containers. Make one of them a 6-gallon, or have a couple of cases of bottled water, or keep your empty mason jars filled, keep your water bottles filled up, rotate those containers, every 5 to 6 months. When I've stored water and it's getting close to time to switch it out, I give it to my dog and my cats, or we go put it in the garden. We don't just dump it down the sink. I've gone as far as turning off the water to the toilet, leaving a 5-gallon jug next to it. And, after a handful of flushes, it's basically empty. I can refill it again. We're good to go. You can go bigger. You can get the water bricks that are 10-gallon water bricks or something along those lines. But 22 gallons of water. That's all of this math comes out for one singular person. So about $6 worth of oats, $4 of beans, or $4 of rice, $5-ish of beans. The water containers are more expensive, but they're going to last darn near forever. And then as a added side bonus, get 4 cans of fruit, of any fruit that you like. Pears, peaches, mixed fruit, applesauce, whatever. And 5 cans of veggies. Those things can be rotated very frequently, especially if you're, in our family, we open a can of fruit and a can of veggies for every meal that we sit down and eat. So they're constantly being rotated. That's going to be another $15-ish of fruits and veggies. And that kind of rounds out this food. It adds some more calories, a little bit of sugar, some vitamins, those sort of things. It'll help fill you up. It'll provide a little bit of variety. The bonus is spices and seasonings. If you like your oats sweet, you're going to want to put away a little bit of sugar or honey. For your rice and beans, season as you like. You can just store some salt and pepper, and that is going to go many, many miles towards making this a much more enjoyable food palette. You can get spicier stuff, Cajun spices, crushed red peppers, nature seasoning, whatever you want to season this with. And this is your safety net. This is feeding yourself for the bare minimum that you can possibly go. From here, you've got 2 weeks. You have this safety net. If things go south, 2 weeks, you're going to survive. You might not want to eat rice or beans for a year afterwards, but you're not waiting in a line for an MRE that may or may not be there. You're not, hoping that the food pantry doesn't run out of food or anything like that. And then you expand upon it from here. I cleaned our freeze dryer really good last night. I have Mylar bags coming in today, ranging from half pint up to a gallon. And we're just going to start freeze drying other meals. Spaghetti, chili, eggs, just all of the meals that we like to eat. If you don't have a freeze dryer, then Mountain House meals. They're kind of expensive. It's about $10 for a meal. You can get it cheaper getting it in the number 10 cans. And anything that you put away is better than nothing. Anything grows this stockpile, increases your food varieties, increases different seasonings and options that you are getting better and better each time you put something aside. Walmart sells freeze-dried milk. Other canned goods, a can of SpaghettiOs over eating another meal of rice and beans. It's probably worth that $2 for putting that can aside. And, you get 10 cans and you eat one, when it's getting close to expiration time, and you replace it. That's getting the rotation going. The things on this list, if you store it properly, they're going to last darn near forever. You can store it away and forget about it, whether it's in a mason jar or a Mylar bag with the oxygen absorber. And then you can, start focusing on other stuff. Or you hit your 2 weeks and, now you're hooked. Now you want 3 weeks. Now you want a month. Now you want 6 months. Now you want a year. And eventually you have an entire closet full of food storage. And now you're thinking, that runs out, what am I going to do? So now I've got a garden and fruit trees and meat rabbits and chickens, and it's a never-ending thing. It turns into a lifestyle. And, like Bear Independent, I've followed him for a long time. I like the work that he does. And he always says, stack to the rafters. If you have empty space, you can fill it with food. Anything that can get you through however long it takes for things to go back to normal. Some of us think it's more than 72 hours. I think it's kind of a joke that FEMA says 72 hours. Some of us say 2 weeks is a good amount. Some say a year. Some people are worried about a decades-long event where things are just, they completely collapsed, and, it's a generational recycle. But those are the numbers. You can play around with those based off the size of your family. 1,500 calories is way more than my 2-year-old's going to eat. Depending on if you have older people, maybe 1,500 calories is too much. If you're 300 pounds and, 6'5", 1,500 is not enough at all. Maybe it'll help you lose a couple inches off the old waist. And, plug in the calorie numbers that you want. Multiply that by the number of days. And then divide that by the containers of oats, rice, and beans that you get. All that being said, one more time, like, subscribe, share, comment, do all those sort of things. And I'll catch you in the next one.